We had a discussion of this in the steering committee. We would like for that to us, it doesn't seem like a black box because we're the ones doing it, but we thought that it might be appropriate to have a more open discussion about what we look for in steering committee members and to perhaps tweak the informal rules that we are using. So Christine Hartzell was going to present on that.
All right, so as Tim said, this is kind of the list of guidelines that we came up with. So we're looking for feedback on if we're missing anything or if any of these should be modified. So I'm just going to run through what we have right now and then open it up for discussion. So first of all, the steering committee members should be as diverse as the community in terms of a variety of dimensions. So for instance, diversity in topical interest, we want to represent asteroids, comets, meteoroids, TNOs, KBOs. We also want to include different methods of doing research, so observational researchers, experimentalists, computational folks. We want a diversity in gender in experience with both early career people and more senior members of our community. And then we want to represent the different types of employers that SBAG members work for. The steering committee should consist of at least 5 members and should not exceed 12 members unless there's some additional expertise that's necessary. So 12 seems to be a manageable number. That's right around the number that we're at right now. And we think that 5 is a good minimum number for the steering committee size. The steering committee should have at least 1 member with expertise in each of the 3 following areas. So we have planetary defense, human exploration, and technology to enable exploration. These 3 areas aren't your traditional planetary science areas, but they're big components of the community and big topics that motivate a lot of the research that we do. So we think that it's important to have members that represent these areas. Steering committee should have at least 2 members whose primary expertise is small body planetary science research and analysis. So this gets back to the minimum steering committee configuration where you have 5 members. 3 of them are dictated by planetary science, human exploration, and technology. And then you have these other 2 members that should be focused on science. Steering committee should have an early career secretary. We've had this for the past couple of years. This should be a person that has less than 3 years of experience after their terminal degree. Scroll down. Steering committee terms should be 3 years, except for the early career secretary, whose term is 2 years. Steering committee should be led by a chair who should have previously served on the steering committee itself. To ensure that the membership of the committee is not stagnant, prior members of the steering committee are eligible for additional terms on the steering committee only after a 3-year separation from the committee, with the exception of the chair. So the idea is that we are trying to keep new blood in the committee and getting representation from new people that are entering the field. Additionally, no more than 25% of the membership of the committee, other than the chair, should consist of individuals who have previously served. And finally, any member of the small body research and engineering community is eligible to apply for membership to the steering committee. So are there any comments on things that we've left out that should be included or things that should be modified here? Yes, lots of comments.
Can I get a mic?
It's cheating because I'm on the chair's meeting. I commented already. If you scroll down the number, I don't know if number 1 or number 2. Scroll down, I think it's number 3. I would suggest that says gender.
Yeah.
Putting demographics.
Okay.
There's more than one kind of diversity we might want to have, if we can.
Paul Abelman, Johnson. So one of the things that I was thinking about maybe also having some, I don't know if you have it in here, they fall under human exploration or technology, but resource utilization. Because that's becoming more and more, and we have that as part of the SBAG goals document. So in-situ resource utilization or resource identification or something like that. It might be interesting to have someone who has that perspective as well. That's just a comment.
Okay. Tim's making a comment on that.
If you don't mind, I'll jump in on a couple of places. So we had discussed that, and so for example, we, spoiler alert, one of the goals will be related to resource utilization. The the planetary defense, the human exploration, those are partly there because they are ties to other mission or to other mission directorates, and so we want to make sure that we have those. And whether we certainly want the resource utilization community to be a part of the group, we did not. We keep debating this. We had felt that we didn't need to specify that it'd be that, but we certainly aren't going to advocate against somebody. And
I'm just online reading a yes to resource utilization.
Okay. And Paul?
Yeah, my point of view is I think it's something that we should really consider because, it's coming to the fore more and more. We have a lot of commercial interests. I know that other AGs are considering this as well. So I think it's something we should really consider. And I would advocate having somebody, at least with expertise on that.
Another thought is to what extent we should encourage sort of the our international colleagues to participate and be on the steering committee. A number of, I think that interest in small bodies is quite high in other countries, and they constitute a rather major portion of the community.
So my comment to that would be if SBAG's purpose is partially to advise NASA, it may be seen as somewhat of a conflict if we have non-U.S. collaborators serving in that regard.
Yeah, it depends on how that is viewed by those setting up the capabilities. Mm-hmm. But it is part of the community.
Yeah.
I think that's a limited question. Maybe something that happened, but I think from some of my understanding is that's going to be very difficult. This is NASA. We can't design NASA, so we're assessing to not give NASA information. And our the best effort charters, I think it's going to bring, especially international community. I think that there's going to be some interesting situations. Especially if we have to run
is while we do definitely want international participation, we are a committee chartered by NASA.
So following up on that in terms of possible conflict of interest on steering Paul, is it a problem to have civil servants on the steering committee? Kind of built that we've had it in the past, but I think, before I was on the committee, I think, we recognize that the steering committee, that the chair should not be a civil servant, and should that be visited quickly?
So the question was civil servants on the steering committee, and in part, one of the things we do want to have representatives of, there are a lot of government employees who work on small bodies, but having the chair be a civil servant could well be considered a conflict of interest and might be written in.
So I would agree with that. So civil servants, after I've been on the steering committee and we have others that are on the steering committee and civil servants, I think that is okay, but it gets into a really sticky area if you have a chair as an absent civil servant.
Paul, you may want to hold on the mic while I want to I want to address a question about ISRU. Yeah. We have I agree there.
I take that's manipulation technology. Would you rank ISRU of such importance that we should have a mandatory or suggested mandatory membership for ISRU?
And the question to Paul Abel was, on the list in number 3, planetary defense, human exploration, and technology, should ISRU be ranked in with those?
So from my point of view, I think yes. I think you need to really encourage at least having somebody who has ISRU expertise, especially since we now have a chapter in our goals document that is ISRU. So we need someone who has the capability and background and expertise to lead that chapter. That's probably one of their roles. And given that the whole prominence of ISRU, again, not only for small bodies, but as we're seeing for other in other assessment groups, I think it's really important for us to consider that.
And Paul's answer was yes. But based, sorry, I couldn't resist that. But based on the fact that we do have resource utilization in the goals and that other ags are starting to prioritize that as well. And Paul, if you could.
There's a comment from online that not all civil servants are NASA employees.
Correct.
And
Okay, so we don't mind. Okay, sorry.
There's someone who's sort of edging out of, maybe I'm not really early career anymore, but like edging out of early middle career. There's not much I know about how you get onto the SBAG because it says fill out a form and then express your interest. It'd be really nice to know, have a regular, like, this is when we're going to have people, we're asking for people, the terms where like they end at a regular pace for people to come on. And also somewhere about membership guidelines that someone who is really middle, starting middle career, which is probably what you're looking for, or beyond that, just look at the list and say, do I fit that? And I think when the last call came out, it wasn't very clear for me looking at the website, do my qualifications fit? And that's something I'm noticing on the website, it's not very clear what you're looking for other than there was a bit of what research area specifically, of like what you're looking for in terms of how many years you have PhD, you have to be involved in a math mission in some way, to be able to be honest. And I think if you increase diversity, it's great to mention that that's something you want on the list, but I think you've got to do more to advertise this and not make this an internal list that only the SBAG sees.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the comment was in part that that it has not been clear in the past how you get on. A part of why we are doing this is to post this on the website so that people know what we are looking for. The terms in the middle of the year, we have always sent out a call a couple of months in advance, but we are attempting to make it more transparent, particularly of what we're looking for by doing these. And so that's why we're looking for what do people want in it. And it is the steering committee selects the next steering committee members. We are trying to keep that from being an insulated process. Was there something else that I missed in your comment? Okay. Other comments? All right, then we will move on. Thank you very much, Christina. And yes, this is very definitely, that's the whole point of this exercise, is to be able to post this and make it easier for people to understand.